Hello everybody, today we're going to talk about heaven and hell. I know, this is a big question, right? Where are we going to go after we die? This is something I've been thinking about since I was a little kid, and given the visual imagery that I was told in Sunday school, I definitely wanted to make sure that I ended up in the right place. See, in Christianity, there are two places that you can go, heaven or hell. And no matter where you end up, that's where you'll be for all of eternity. The deciding factor between the two is whether you've accepted the sacrifice of Jesus and made him your Lord. Heaven has been described in different ways, but the most common version involves lots of clouds, streets paved with gold, angels, music, and the radiant glory of God. Now, what will we be doing in heaven for all of eternity? Well, we'll be singing praises to God. Imagine a never-ending worship session of singing "Glory, Glory, Glory is the Lord God Almighty." Now I realize that this may sound like it's going to get a little bit old after a few centuries, but trust me, it won't, because the glory of God is so amazing and consuming that our only possible response is to praise him. And it'll be a joy to do it. In heaven, there's no sickness, no sadness, no jealousy or deceit, just pure joy. Now, hell is the exact opposite. First off, hell has been described as a lake of fire. So imagine a giant pit of the hottest fire imaginable, and it's full of the souls of those who haven't accepted Jesus Christ. Now, none of these souls can ever die, but they can still feel pain. The only relief from the fire that they get is when a demon pulls them out to torture them relentlessly. And again, there's no way out. You had one chance and you blew it. Now I know that when I became a born-again Christian, there was this huge weight lifted off my chest. But I began to constantly worry about everyone else. Have they been saved? What if they accepted Jesus when they were younger, but then turned away as they got older? What if the person truly loved God and others, but they didn't believe in Christianity? Something about that last one always confused me. I mean, everything I know about God is that he loves us more than we can possibly imagine, and his whole motivation is to help us succeed. It seemed weird that he'd keep trying to get us as long as we were alive, but if we died, it was like, sorry, sucks for you. And then, of course, the description of heaven always seemed off. Like God was basically basking in our worship for all of eternity. I'm not saying he isn't worthy. I'm just saying that it seemed odd that this was his ultimate goal, to get a segment of humanity to get up to him so that they can tell him how great he is. Is this the same God that prizes humility? As I began to study the Bahai Faith, I felt so relieved to learn about the description that it offered that seemed much more in line with the God that I had grown to love in the scriptures. To start, the Bahai Faith states that heaven and hell are not actual physical places, so there aren't actual locations that our souls go after we die. Instead, it describes heaven and hell as more of states of being. You'd be considered in heaven as you grow closer to God, and in hell as you're further away. Because these are states in a person's spiritual progress, they can actually be considered in heaven or in hell while they're here on earth. The Bahai Faith also explains that there's no way for us to possibly comprehend what the afterlife will be like. Think about it like this. When a baby is conceived, it spends time in the womb having their physical being prepared to exist in the physical world. It has no idea or comprehension what the world is going to be like. How could it? When it's never experienced any part of it. All it knows is its current state of being. Once the baby enters the physical world, its spirit begins to be developed and prepared to enter the next phase of existence, the spiritual world. If a person developed healthy spiritual qualities during their life, they'll enter the afterlife healthy and prepared to flourish. They'll be near God and in heaven. If they don't develop healthy spiritual qualities and instead choose to spend their life indulging their carnal desires, they'll enter the afterlife spiritually handicapped and far from God, or in hell. This belief raises a few interesting points. Number one, that accepting Jesus is not the only way to get into heaven, because it's all about developing a healthy spirit. A person can learn those qualities from many different teachers. That would mean that it's really about the content of a person's character and not about which religion they've chosen to follow. Also, this means that the afterlife isn't a static existence. It's the beginning of a new journey where the spirit continues to mature and progress. Going back to the baby analogy, a baby is prepared for the physical world but continues to grow physically once it's born. Like that, a person enters the afterlife spiritually developed but continues to grow into maturity. So even if a person enters the afterlife without having good spiritual development, they can still learn and grow and progress. So, to sum it up, heaven and hell are not physical locations but states of being. To be in heaven is to be close to God and spiritually strong. To be in hell is to be distant from God and spiritually weak. People of all faiths can enter into heaven because there are many paths that humans can take to mature into spirituality. Once we get to the afterlife, it's not the end, and it won't be the same thing each and every day. We'll continue to grow, continue to learn, and continue to progress. There is, however, no way for us to understand what that existence will be like because it's so far from our comprehension. We've only ever experienced a physical world, and the spirit world will be governed by a completely different set of laws. Well, thank you for watching, and please feel free to check out some of my other videos as I continue to explore the Baha'i Faith and how it relates to common Christian traditions.